And cut.
Hey! My name is Tony with Phillips Fish Works.
And I'm Kara with Phillips Fish Works.
We are doing another one right now.
Another video.
The four things we're going to cover in this video are 1 week from Black Friday. Woo! Friday, Saturday, and Sunday is the Black Friday sale. There will be a percentage off most items, and you'll get a free thing with your order. More details Monday.
We wanted to talk about our holiday shipping information, so you've got that.
Let's take a look at the new products. So we talked about in our last video how the Earth Cycle jar and Vinegar eels, Scud-free cultures, and little terrestrial isopods, those were going to be available on the website Monday. Well, Monday has come and gone, and wow, we stuck to our promise and we made a date for once. They are on the website. So I wanted to, in this video, break down this little jar ecosystem kit. Also, the Vinegar eels, which I have kind of fallen in love with now that I've kind of figured out you can scoop them out with a little net and it's not such a pain to harvest them. You get a big old giant jar of Vinegar eels going, and you will have a ton of little fried fish food.
We're not there yet, Tony.
Oh, sorry. I keep wanting to dive into the topics.
Yet, Tony.
We're talking about the four things. The fourth thing
is we're going to answer an email about the Scud cultures in smaller tanks. It seems to be a question we've gotten more often here lately, so we wanted to touch base on that in this video.
Right.
All right.
Okay, so...
All right, as we said, Black Friday, 1 week from today.
Yes.
It's going to be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You can take advantage of the deals. We also want you to be sure to add your email up for or sign up for our newsletter.
Yes. The Phillips Fish Works.
You're missing out.
Newsletter gang, we're calling it.
You're missing out.
And we're going to, as this rolls on, we will make that more of a thing and maybe even get some merchandise.
Ooh,
some t-shirts.
Merch. I'll work on that, guys.
Phillips Fish Works newsletter gang.
I'll work on it.
So if you go to the bottom of our homepage, there's also another thing, the Benthic Bulletin, but that's probably going away because no one cares about that apparently. But if you sign up, there's a little thing for join the Phillips Fish Works newsletter gang. Put your email in there. That's it. Just your email. I don't need your address, your phone number, social security number. I don't need that. Just your email. And we're not going to sell it or anything like that. All we're going to do is send you a newsletter, hopefully like twice a month, maybe 3 times a month, but it's not something that's going to be twice a week or anything. And there's going to be...
We won't annoy you, we promise.
We can't promise you that.
I won't annoy you, I promise.
That's likely. Okay, why give us your email? Well, because just like I said... You know, I said the products were on the website Monday, but they were actually on the website Friday. Anyways, along with the products being live, the new products being live on the website last Friday, we also sent out a newsletter. And in that newsletter was a promo code that got everyone like 10% off of all the products from that date till Thanksgiving. So if you wanted that promo code, you kind of had to be like signed up into the newsletter gang.
Yeah.
And just a side note about that promo code, it had the number 47 in it. And I did not realize that that was such like a political charged number.
Yeah.
Her name's Kara, my name's Tony, but it's like Anthony. Yeah, so
7.
4 letters was 4. Anthony is 7. And when we were high school sweethearts, because we go back that far,
yeah.
That was like our lucky number, 47. We put it on the end of everything. So she's been here a couple weeks, yes. And we were really excited.
We were celebrating that.
And the recommended promo code in the software was like thanks 10. I just gave it away. That's fine. We made it thanks 47.
It's good from now until Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, we'll give you details on that in a sec. But it was thanks 47, as in Kara and Anthony or Kara and Tony 47, yes. Because that's been her number forever. In fact, at this shop, which she used to work here in high school with my dad on the VW side of things.
Long time ago.
And somewhere, and I'm going to find it and show you guys here later, there's written on the wall like T&K 47, T&K, Tony and Kara 47, You know, we've stuck it on the end of email addresses. It's always been our number.
Yeah.
And
we made it corny.
We made
purpose.
thanks 47 because that was the number we just thought. And turns out I've gotten a lot of emails, some very happy, some very not happy about my quote unquote politically charged or whatever promo code. And that's not, it's not, you know, that's kind of like
nothing to do with that.
Private thing. I don't like to really mix that with this because that's not what this is about.
Correct.
This business is about unity. It's about community. It's about the connectivity of all things.
The Scuds.
Earth Cycle Jar.
And the creatures.
Vinegar Eel, stuff like that. I'm not going to bring politics into it. And some people say you should, you shouldn't. It doesn't matter. We're here to talk about Scuds and things, not politics. So...
Long story short, we need your email. We might send you promo codes.
Sorry, I'm good at derailing things. But yeah, in most of the newsletters that are going to go out, and this last one was really the start of the promo codes in the newsletter. But I can throw a promo code in a newsletter very easily. So, thanks 47 will get you 10% off of your entire order, minus the shipping. It doesn't count on shipping.
I don't think it does, no. But that was a special thanks.
Yeah, it was
from
just
Kara and Tony.
Yeah, from Kara and Tony. And
47.
So next time though, the newsletter is going to go out, and I'm not going to tell you what the promo code is, and you will only get it if you're in the newsletter club.
Got to be in the club. In the club.
Yeah. So join the email list at the bottom of the homepage.
Yes, and also we wanted to bring on the holiday shipping information. So next week is Thanksgiving.
Next week's Thanksgiving. We're only shipping Monday. So this video is coming out on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Monday's our last shipping day of that entire week. We normally ship Tuesday and Wednesday as well.
Right.
But with Thanksgiving, they're shut down on Thanksgiving Day.
Yeah.
We can't ship Tuesday because a lot of that's going to land on Thursday. So we're just going to wipe the whole week clean. We'll ship Monday. So if you place an order on Monday, it may not be going out Monday because we're going to already have a lot. We've already got orders in line right now because we're only shipping Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday normally. So we've already got orders for Monday, but we've still got plenty of room to fit that in.
Yeah. So if you want it shipped Monday,
you're going to have to get it in by
Sunday night. And we just want to make sure that like your creatures are getting to you in time. We don't want them stuck out in the cold or, you know,
stuck in transit.
Stuck in transit for too long.
They could be sitting on a truck outside in freezing temperatures over the weekend and not move at all. So that's not what we want. And a lot of times during the holidays, they're going to be delayed. So even if it did get to you on a Friday, you know, it's possible just because of the holiday rush and delays there, it's going to be till Monday. So it's just not worth the risk.
Yeah.
Monday's our only shipping day. And then we're going to pick back up that following Monday after Black Friday. So, and that's going to be a pretty busy day. We'll have plenty of help here. We're going to try to pregame things to where we can get out all the orders Monday and Tuesday and not have, in the past couple years, you know, we've had some delay just because manpower issues and just not being able to, you know, not being up on it. So.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Now for the fun part.
Oh.
We get to dive into these lovely.
Let's start with the Vinegar Eel Culture Kit. So Vinegar Eels, like I said, are kind of my new favorite little feeder for little fry. This is a live culture. And there are just, you can't see it on this camera. I'll show some close-ups here. But there are just hundreds of thousands of little tiny worms in here. This is what we would call a starter culture by itself. You can buy this on the website by itself. This is the culture kit. So it's two separate products. But in the culture kit, you get the jar, you get the vented lid. This is a little stainless steel mesh. We drill a hole, we line this little stainless steel mesh up, and we actually meld it into the plastic. That gives you a nice little ventilation. We're going to be selling these separate on the website at some point, hopefully very soon. Okay, so the stainless steel mesh lid, what's nice about it versus just a paper towel or coffee filter is this is going to be at some point full of vinegar, and that's very strong smelling, and you definitely will smell it with that coffee filter or paper towel with a rubber band over it, and it will evaporate very quickly. This lid keeps evaporation down. It still lets airflow for some gassing off.
You will still be able to smell it.
And it really keeps the smell down. Huh?
But you can still smell it.
Well, if you stick your nose right on the hole, yes, you can still smell it. But if this is sitting up on a shelf in the fish room, you will not have the same experience of, if you walk by it, it won't be smelling. Now, if you get right up on the hole, yeah, it's going to smell, Kara. Come on. Anyways, I'm trying to sell this thing.
Well, yeah, if they're buying a vinegar eel culture kit, vinegar is literally, it's the first thing in the name. So that means it's got the most vinegar in it.
They warned me working with your wife would be a challenge. They literally, everyone I've said, hey, my wife's coming on board, they all are like, you're sure about that? Yeah, I'm sure. Instruction sheets. I have been criticized in the past for being too detailed in instructions. I don't care about that. I'm sorry. If you don't want, there will be like an accompanying video on the website within the next week on how to put this together. It's real simple. You fill it up half with water, half with apple cider vinegar, put the sample in there, put some apple slices in there, and 3 weeks later you got a booming culture.
Tons.
And you can harvest quite a bit out and still not impact the population. But there's some instructions. If you don't like detailed instructions, don't read them. But I think a lot of people really want to know, they want information. Another nice thing about this kit is it comes with this little net. This is a super fine mesh net. And imagine this is full of vinegar. Eels. And the culture's ready to harvest. You just do this. And then you tap off. And then all those little vinegar eels are stuck on the inside of the net.
Tons.
Like hundreds, thousands. Then you can go direct to tank, but if that little couple drops of vinegar bothers you, I get it. You can go into like a cup of water and then that you've got, I'm acting like it's here. So does that make sense? This is the Vinegar Eel Culture Kit on the website now, not some fictitious date in the future or deadline that we're never going to meet. We met our deadline. Oh, this is so stupid. All right, so let's talk about the Earth Cycle jar.
Let's get right in.
It's a 1 gallon ecosystem jar kit. It's terrestrial. It's basically a forest floor in a jar. It shows different life cycles of the creatures inside. It shows larger life cycles, Earth cycles, Earth Cycle jar. It's how the Earth processes dead things like leaves fall. These botanicals are broken down by isopods, worms, snails, different things, decomposers, springtails. They're going to break these things down. Bacteria breaks it down. And basically, you're making dirt. It's a jar that makes dirt. Soil. Why do we want to make soil? Well, because we're dirted tank people, or some of you are anyways. We like dirt underneath the sand of our fish tanks. Where do we get the dirt? You can get the dirt outside. You can get the dirt out of a bag at the hardware store, although I don't know that that's really soil. That's more like a concocted, I don't know, man. Any of you guys ever open up a bag of soil from potting soil and think, is this really any good? That's what I wonder. Anyways.
Gonna make some really good dirt with this jar.
Yeah, so this is making a soil you can put under your aquarium underneath of the sand in your aquarium. It's also a good little experiment jar to watch these decomposers at work. It's just cool. Let's just open it up and show you guys what it is.
Inside, yeah.
Comes with instructions. Man, these are really detailed. It's just literally step by step. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just instructions. You get the idea. That's going to tell you how to set it up, what to expect as you go. The bottom layer is going to be, I'm trying to pull this out in order. There's some rocks. That goes on the very bottom. That's the drainage layer. So as this thing has moisture in it, if there gets a little too much moisture, it can drain down in the bottom and not leave your soil layer super muddy. In this bag is the soil layer, and I call it living soil because it's literally alive. There are worms. I see little tiny worms. There's some red wigglers in there, composting worms. There's going to be springtails in here. If you were to take some of this soil, put it like under a microscope, put a little bit of water in it, there's a lot in here. A lot of creepy crawlies in this soil. It's alive. And that's kind of your starter soil layer. This is what the kit makes. This is what you're making. And it's not an instant process, but over the course of months and even a year, you can have quite a bit of soil going in here, and you can use that in your potted plants. You can put it under your sand in your aquarium, or just, let it build up and make a whole jar of dirt and plant it right in the top of the jar. You could have some plant growing out of there. That would be cool.
That would be cool.
Okay, you got a magnifying glass and some little tongs or big tweezers. Tweezers are just so you can move stuff around in there without touching it with your hands if you have a problem with that. This magnifying glass, it is not just your cheapo, crappy magnifying glass. It is actually got a glass lens, and it is like a 10x. So the problem with small magnifying glasses, especially small cheap ones you're going to get in bulk to include in a kit, is they're usually plastic or acrylic, which isn't so much a problem, but they're not a very high magnification. This is actually going to be a glass magnifying glass, like the lens is glass, and it is a 10x. So that gives you actually something you can work with. It's not just a little, it doesn't really do anything. It does something. Here's the dry leaves it comes with. This is going to be what the isopods, springtails, and worms are breaking down. The bacteria is going to break this down. This bag of leaves is going to turn into a bag of dirt. Only it's going to be a jar of dirt because it's in a jar. So it's got 4 different varieties of leaves. This particular bag has got live oak, cottonwood, maple leaves, and red oak. Though that variety may change. Maybe there would be sweet gum leaves in there, or maybe white oak, or maybe some different kinds of maple. I think these were yellow maple. But you will get 4 different kinds of leaves. You're not going to get all the same kind of leaf. And also we've got 4 sweet gum seed pods and 4 acorn caps. The sweet gum seed pods, also known as scud balls in the aquarium world. Those, again, the botanicals may change, but the quantity is going to be the same and the variety is going to be the same. There's going to be variety. It's not just going to be just a bag of oak leaves and that's it. You're going to get a variety of things because you'll find that they break down at different rates. Different creatures like different aspects of it. The maple leaves and the cottonwood leaves, they're going to go first. The oak leaves are going to last a little bit longer in there. And you will be, I don't think they're on the website yet, but there will be little refill packs if you want to buy just packs of leaves to refill this later.
If customers want to add their own leaves, should they come from an untreated source?
Absolutely. So you want to put your own leaves in there, you want to put some sticks in there, you want to put whatever you want in there, go for it. I would encourage it too. Just make sure they're not from, like if you spray chemicals on your yard, or, if you're, I'm at the park and all these leaves are on the ground, you'd be surprised. A lot of parks and things are spraying the landscape around, and, maybe there's a contamination risk, maybe not. Another place you maybe want to be weary of collecting is where a lot of cars are parked. If cars are being parked or leaves are on driveways, sometimes if there's a lot of cars on driveways, you don't think about it, but all of these cars are dripping chemicals. There's brake fluid, there's oil, there's gasoline, there's all these, windshield washer fluid. Potentially a lot of chemicals or fluids coming off of cars, collecting on driveways, washing off of driveways to the edges of driveways. Now, that may be a little hyper sounding, but, and again, it's, if a leaf falls off of a tree and lands on a yard, and that yard last year was sprayed for bugs, is that a contamination risk? Probably not. But I'm just saying, be aware where you're collecting from. All of our leaves are collected. We got a couple sources, but our main source of where all of these were collected from, minus the live oak, was from one of our good friends who have a big 100 acres, and it's away from agriculture. It's away from it's just literally woods, and they've been there forever. So it's pretty much a 0 contamination risk. Good question, Kara.
Thank you.
But yeah, you can put your own stuff in there. That's no problem. And I don't want to scare you with bringing up the contamination risk. I'm not trying to scare you into only buying products from us. But I'm just throwing it out there. Like, that is a thing that can happen. Be aware, and it'll probably be fine.
Your assistant could have helped you with that.
I know. My hands are kind of like fingers are big and I can't like pull it out. So the jar, the vented lid. Did I go over the vented lid?
You did.
Okay.
You said you were going to get these items separate on the website.
On the website.
Yeah.
I didn't know if that was a previous
You
cut
did
because
say that,
we,
yeah.
here's the other. So this is the living soil. Those are all kind of the materials put together. This is the living organisms. This is the little pack of isopods, and there's going to be springtails in here, and little mites, and all kinds of little critters. Again, it's like a little mini jar. Now, they can stay in this jar for a period of time. It's not intended to be their home. So this is not like, I mean, this is very cute, and there's a little soil layer, some leaves, a little seed pod in there, a bunch of isopods running around, some springtails in here. And that would be really tempting to kind of like set that up on your shelf or take it to school with you and put it on your desk. But this is not really a permanent home for these isopods. There's probably around 20 or 30 isopods in here. And it's really just meant for the shipping process. Now, I've done some testing with this. Like, how long are they good in here for? They live in there quite a while, honestly. And, I poked some holes in the lid. They can be in here for a little while if you don't throw this kit together immediately, but this is really intended for a shipping vessel, not a permanent home. Hang on to the jar. You can, take it out with you if you're, got some kids and you're collecting some lightning bugs or I don't know, little samples of something from the wild that does have air holes in it. But again, this is kind of the living portion. The instructions go through it all. How are you going to put this thing together? One note to keep in mind, this is this is a brand new dry leaf litter. And when you put this kit together and you have all this dry leaf litter and you get it moist and wet, there can be some mold growing on it because the environment is not established with a microbiome yet. It's like this similar concept to your aquarium. It's a kind of a sterile environment. And if you just let it go, let it simmer, it should go away pretty quickly. And the springtails, the isopods, they're kind of working over the bacteria and the microorganisms from the soil sample and from the other isopod sample. That's going to eventually distribute through the jar, and that mold will very much go away. It might be around a week or two, but don't panic. Don't worry. It's going to be just fine. People, when they see mold, they want to freak out. And even in a lot of like instruction manuals, oh, when the food gets moldy, get rid of it, like in whiteworms and stuff. But, if you leave it, they just kind of eat it all and it goes away. It's there because of kind of a misbalance of things. So, Earth Cycle jar on the website now. They're on sale at the moment. Vinegar eel culture kits and live cultures by themselves without the kit. Those are on the website now. We also added Scud-free leafy bugs. It's on the website. And it is your beloved leafy bugs culture. Comes with a variety of leaves, 2 seed pods, and a little Daphnia, Moina, a couple snails, some little copepods, little micros. That's on there now, but no Scuds. So that's the Scud-free leafy bugs. What else did we add to the website Friday? We had just this little jar of isopods. We've got the powdered orange and the dairy cows. They're on there as well. And we're going to put some dry goods like just the jars by themselves, the little nets. Those will be on there as well. All right, we've got an email, and I'm going to let the boss read it.
Hello. I'm currently working on a little bug tank area for my godson and wanted a Scud tank. My plan is to put them in a 1.5 gallon tank with plants, which I know they will probably kill. I had someone suggest having isopods and a snail inside as well. I just wanted to see if you thought it was feasible to mix those critters in a tank that size. I also wondered if Scuds are hardy enough to handle a tank that isn't cycled yet, or should I cycle it first? Thanks.
Okay, so there's a lot to unpack there, actually. Maybe not right off the bat. Seems pretty straightforward. But first of all, everything does better if the tank is cycled. We want to pretend like we don't need to cycle our tanks. There are a lot of really hardy species, snails and scuds and all these little micro creatures. a lot of times they can survive without having a cycled tank. But even if it just sat a couple of days and let some of the chemistry simmer a second, that is better than just putting it together, throwing the creatures in there immediately. There's a lot of chemical reactions going on, things that you can't see, and you might put your tank together and everything looks so good and the water's really clear and everything's great. But what's happening in there, there could be some volatile chemistry going on, rising and falling levels of ammonia, nitrites, then some nitrates later on after the cycle's complete. But you've got some of these chemicals going up and down. So can scuds survive uncycled aquariums? Yeah, you can take a scud culture and just put in an empty jar of water and they will survive in there fine. Typically what's crashing and hurting these animals, especially in an uncycled tank, is feeding them, putting food in there. So you've got a 1.5 gallon tank, 1.5 gallon tank. That is very small. So it's not that the creatures can't get along together. That's not the problem. It's not that they won't live in there okay. It's that feeding them in there is going to create very bad water chemistry very fast. That makes sense?
Yeah.
So the water quality is going to go downhill very quickly. Then you're going to see some suffering. Something about a plant. It has a plant in there, and the scuds are probably going to eat it. So I think that comment comes from there's this idea that scuds eat tons of plants always, and there are lots of situations where that can occur where scuds might eat plants, especially if the scud population is very high, the food population is very low. Let me do a quick rundown of this whole scud and plant thing. I don't want this to be too big of a diversion from the question, but here is how and why scuds eat plants. It's not a mystery, it's just misunderstood, I think, a lot. It has everything to do with population density, habitat density, available food, available surface area. And you might think, well, what does surface area have to do with this whole equation? Because scuds are not just eating the cucumber you throw in there or the fish food you throw in there or the dead thing that died. That's true. They're not just eating those food items, those or leaf litter. Those are the items that you're putting in there or that you're seeing that you think is scud food. They are eating that, but they're also eating this whole host of microscopic organisms, microscopic algae, all these things you can't see. Biofilm, biofilm, the stuff like shrimp likes to pick on. Scuds love biofilm. And if you have scuds in an aquarium of any size, when you first introduce them to an environment, if there hasn't been scuds there before and there are not a whole bunch of other creatures already established eating up all the food, there might be a lot more food in there than you think. If you have an environment that has been around a little while and all the surfaces of the rock, all the surfaces of the glass have a lot of biofilm, a whole community of little microscopic organisms, most of which you're not going to see with your naked eye. That whole microfauna is micro, like it's literally smaller than you can see. So when I say microfauna culture and I include scuds in there, scuds are not actually microfauna, they're bigger, they're macrofauna. So you put scuds into a new environment. There's lots of biofilm, lots of little micro algae, maybe even some little green dusty algae on the glass. They love that. They're going to eat that. They're eating the food you put in there. They're eating on some leaf litter. They're eating on the biofilm. And as that population grows, it grows and grows and grows and grows. Now you've got a tank, and now there's thousands of scuds in there, or hundreds of scuds in there, however many, appropriate to the size of the tank. And they get to a point where they strip all those surfaces clean. So let's say you have a pretty dense habitat. You have lots of rocks, lots of leaf litter, little twigs, some wood. You've got a bunch of plants. You have scuds in there. No predators. There's no fish in there. Keep in mind. A lot of surface area. That's what I mean by lots of surface area. Those scuds are eating, not really, the plants aren't their focus. They will eat filamentous algae. They'll eat hair algae. They love that stuff. They're going to eat that stuff right away. And they're going to eat this biofilm and microscopic organisms. Now the population has grown really big. And if you can see, let's say you can see 100 scuds swimming around, there could be 1,000 scuds in the substrate, in the rocks, and especially if it's densely planted. And all day long, they're just combing all those surfaces. Well, eventually, and you're feeding them too. You're probably putting some food in there, and you put a green bean or a piece of, I don't know, watermelon in there, and they're just, covered it. And you're like, oh, that's awesome. And you put more food in there. Oh, that's awesome. Well, eventually, they're going to strip the tank clean. They're going to eat all those surfaces clean. And even if you've got some leaf litter in there, if it's not, if the leaf litter is not really if it's not broken down quite a bit, the scuds may not necessarily chew on it. If your leaf litter's been in there a while and it's older and it's breaking down a lot and there's a lot of bacteria and little microscopic organisms involved in that process, the scuds are going to eat that right away. They're going to be all over that. But let's say they've cleaned all those surfaces off. Now all of a sudden, they're just out of food. And maybe you're also kind of lost interest with it because it's 6 months later and you aren't feeding them as much as you used to. So the population has mushroomed really big. There's more and more babies being born every month than there were, in previous months. So now it's kind of mushrooming in population. They've totally eaten all the food. And now they have no option but to go on to the plants. So that is kind of why that's the perfect storm situation where scuds really will eat into plants. And there are probably, there's hundreds of freshwater scud species. Ours were identified as Hylola azteca. And they are omnivores. They love some filamentous algae. They love different kinds of algae. They love eating dead things. They like leaf litter. Will they eat plants? I would say I have a lot of customers that have them in planted tanks and have no trouble at all. Have I ever heard of people having trouble with scuds and plants? Yes, but it's always has to do with this monster population of scuds that have totally run out of food, and that's when they go on to eating all these plants. Does that make sense?
Total sense.
If you have some fish in that aquarium, this whole problem is not a problem because the population of scuds never gets enormous. And because that population never gets enormous, the scuds never strip all the food out of the tank to where they need to go get to eat the plants. So the scuds eating plants is a huge topic. There are a lot of misinformation out there. It's a lot of misunderstanding. And yes, scuds can eat plants, and there are some species out there that will maybe are more geared toward eating plants or more geared toward carnivores and eating shrimp or whatever. But Hylola azteca, they're more like the tridivore type scuds. They love filamentous algae, and they're going to be rooting around through the muck. They love eating fish food. They love eating dead stuff. Yeah, so I'm kind of totally derailing here, and I knew that would be like a little long blurb about scuds and plants, but just the comment of, well, I know, there's a plant in there and the scuds are probably going to eat it. Well, maybe in the right situation, but maybe not, like probably not. And at home, if you have some fish in your aquarium, now if the fish are microscopic fish and they can't even eat the scuds, maybe that's a different story. But if you have guppies or platies or swordtails, that's kind of those things or if you have a bettas are like scud hunters. That population of scuds cannot get big enough to get out of control to eat all your plants. So here's another, and I know this is a derail, but I'm going to derail anyways. I had this plant in a tank. I set up this tank, and 2 weeks later, I put a bunch of scuds in there. And then a month later, which was 2 weeks after I put the scuds in there, the scuds ate all the plants. That I don't want to say that's common, but I've heard that before. And what's happening is a lot of times when you set up a new planted tank, everything looks really great right off the bat. And the plants are having this huge growth spurt. You put them in and like a week later, they've doubled in size. A lot of that is emergency growth. So think about it. You have this plant. It's being uprooted and ripped out of its environment or whatever it was grown in, sometimes not. It's being shipped, usually out of water somewhat. It's moist but not underwater. And it's going through all this shipping experience and probably being in the dark for a few days. Then it gets brought out. It gets put in a totally different water chemistry than it grew in. And it's being shoved in this thing. And the tank it's being put in, 9 times out of 10 is brand new because people have no patience, which is totally understandable. I have no patience.
Either.
I have no patience. See, this is why I don't want her here. It's fine. This is why I want her here. Call me out.
Call me out.
So the tank's probably brand new. So you take this plant it's been through a tremendous amount of stress and shock. Now you're sticking it in a tank, and the water chemistry is volatile because it's brand new and there's no microbiome established. And its growth is basically emergency growth. The plant has some reserve energy in it, and it's shooting down roots to try to get to something. It's shooting up, growth on its leaves and things to try to get more light, to bring in energy, to produce the root exudates, to, start that beneficial, to start that bacteria relationship with the roots and all that going on. And every plant's a little different, so they don't all have that going on. But basically, that initial burst of growth is not necessarily an indicator that everything is fine. It might be an indicator that the plant is in an emergency situation. I'm still on track, but this is going to seem like another side shoot, just like the bamboo I got. You take a rhizome, cut a section of root or rhizome out of a bamboo, send it to someone on, I bought it off eBay. It comes, I stick it in the pot or the planter, and all of a sudden it's shooting up a bunch of, culms or shoots. That's emergency growth because we're going into winter. Why is it shooting up? That's a springtime thing because it's in an emergency state. It's like, okay, I'm cut off. I have no leaves. I need energy. I need to shoot up some culms to spread out some leaves, to take in the sun, to shoot down the sugars to the roots, to start the relationship with the bacteria. That's what's happening. Okay, so let's bring it back to the aquarium. We don't want to get talking about bamboo. That initial growth might be an emergency. And where was I going with that? Oof. I'm like several steps out of the question. But, I'm circling around. So you have this new aquarium, you put your plants in it, they have an explosive growth, then all of a sudden, a couple weeks later, because the water chemistry sucks or it's a brand new tank or something, there's a lot of melt and die off of those plants. And then the Scuds, who were in there just a couple weeks before, get blamed for killing and eating all the plants. But the plants were dying out anyways. At best, maybe, or at worst, the Scuds were eating on the dead plants. That may have been happening, but that population of Scuds you put in there was so small and they had so much other food to eat, they wouldn't even be predating on the plants anyways. Okay, tied up the bamboo, tied up that story. Now we're coming back to the email. Does any of this make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay, let's see the email. Okay.
I think that's...
I'm currently working on a little bug tank area for my godson and wanted to add a Scud tank. Awesome. My plan was to put them in a 1.5 gallon tank with plants, which I know the Scuds will probably kill. Okay, we covered that. They may not probably kill it. They may not. They probably won't unless, certain set of circumstances occur. Let's not label Scuds as killers just because of what we've heard on the internet. I had someone suggest having isopods and a snail inside as well. Maybe. I just wanted to see if you thought it was feasible to mix these creatures in a tank that size. I mean, that's a lot going on in a 1.5 gallon. This is 1 gallon. So, the tank's probably like this. It's probably, just maybe a little taller, not round. So, that's a small volume of water. And those creatures could live in there if you don't feed them very much. You won't want to be putting a lot of food in there. You don't want like that whole bottom layer to be leaf litter. You want to go easy. You could have some isopods in there. You could have some Scuds in there. You could have a snail in there. 1.5 gallons is not too small, but it's too small if you're going to put food in there all the time. If you had a plant in there, a little bit of leaf litter, some Scuds and isopods, if your goal is to grow a bunch of those Scuds to feed fish in another tank, that's the wrong size because you're going to want to be feeding those Scuds a lot to grow their population huge. You don't want to feed them at all. You feasibly, if you had a snail in there, a couple isopods, a handful of Scuds, if you had a little bit of leaf litter, your plant, you don't have to feed that thing at all. Like literally, you could just put like a little tiny couple grains of fish food in there like once every couple weeks. And you'll see, and that population will match the size of that, whatever that environment can sustain is what it will sustain. And you may see a rise and fall in certain populations. The snail might lay some eggs. You might all of a sudden have this little burst of baby snails, and you'll have 20 little baby snails in there. And then all of a sudden, those baby snails start getting a little bigger, and most of them are going to die out because that little tank is not going to support that. Now, to keep those little snails alive, you're going to have to put a bunch of food in there. So if you all of a sudden start putting a bunch of food in there, it's a little tiny jar. You're going to crash it. That's why we did not make a 1 gallon jar aquatic jar of life, is because you put a half a green bean in there and it can crash it overnight. And too many people aren't going to be able to understand that and aren't going to be able to have success with that. So 1.5 gallon jar is not too small if you're going to not feed it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that's kind of, that's, yeah. I wondered if the Scuds are hardy enough to handle a tank that isn't cycled. Yeah, they're hardy enough. The snail's hardy enough. Or if I should cycle it first. Cycle it first. You don't have to do a full cycle. You don't have to, do I have to wait a whole month? No, but just set it up. Have it going a little while. Also, it's a little volume of water. If you have a ton of creatures in there packed and you're putting food in there and you have no aeration, that's going to be another problem. I had a 1 gallon jar. I put a couple isopods in it. It sat up on a shelf in my basement, and it grew up totally covered in algae, and I never fed it. And 6 months later, there was like probably 50 little isopods in there, and all the algae was gone. They ate all the algae. I never fed it. I never touched it. I didn't water change it. The water level went down, 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 and it was about to here, and I filled it back up. Had I been putting food in there, it would have created a very toxic water situation. So I'm not sure if that makes sense.
I think so.
But, and I know I've kind of gone on and repeated myself over and over again, but that's it. I just want to get the point across. 1.5 gallons is a very small tank. If your plan is to grow Scuds for feeding purposes, you're not going to get this out of my face. Sorry. Okay. That was our email question we wanted to answer, and we may cut some of that out because that was straight up ridiculous. Anything else we want to say, dear?
Check our website on Monday for our Black Friday details. We'll have everything on there, I think, in like a little banner.
Yeah, we'll have a banner and we'll explain kind of where, starting Monday through the Black Friday sale, 10% of all that sale, whatever we make from Monday till the end of the Black Friday sale on Sunday, 10% of that's going to go to somewhere. We haven't really finalized that yet, but Monday, once that starts, there will be an organization listed, and we're literally just going to cut 10% and just send it to the organization. And Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, starting Black Friday, that's where we'll actually have some of our items on sale, and you'll be able to select a little free item to get with purchase of anything. So details to come.
Subscribe to the newsletter.
Yeah, subscribe to the newsletter. The Phillips Fishworks newsletter game club. Phillips Fishworks newsletter club. Right? That's what it's called?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not the game.
Yeah, it's not a game.
It's not a game.
It's a game.
It's a club.
It's a club.
It's a fun club.
And the reason you want to be involved is because you're going to get some promo codes. You're also going to get links to private YouTube videos. So there may be this long rambling video, but it's just kind of unedited, like all of this stuff. But it may be just some raw footage of working on something or something that I'm not really going to put on YouTube publicly. But, you'll have access to seeing some kind of goofy, weird behind the scenes stuff, which is always exciting. And
new products.
Yeah. So happy Thanksgiving. We may get on and do another little something before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Not sure yet, but have a fun time with your family. Get around the table, break some bread, and get along. Try to get along for, one day. You guys can do it. Check out phillipsfishworks.com. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye. All right. So Kara left to go get the kids from school, and now we're going to talk about the bamboo. Like a week ago, these were really tiny. Do you see these things? These are bamboo culms, C-U-L-M, culm. Or some people call them like the little shoots that come up. Yeah, this is cool. Let's flip this camera around and take a look at the updates. Now I'm doing this at the end of the video for a reason, so the bamboo haters can click off. So this is going to be an update about bamboo, not about fish or scuds or, no, we don't really do a lot of fish here. This is not about scuds or isopods. This is about bamboo. So click off if you hate bamboo. Okay, so these little yellow things are little sticky traps to trap fungus gnats because there seems to be a lot of fungus gnats in this leaf litter for some reason. Check out these bamboo culms or shoots. Here's this guy. You remember him from last week? Look at this big monster shooting up. Gotta be careful. These things are pretty fragile until they're actually fully up and hardened. If you just push this over, it'll go right over and it'll snap off. There's another one here coming up. There's another little one down there. Let's see if we can get that. Little tiny one. All right, now look at these mammy jammies. Whoa, look at this. Insane. So this time last week, these are my little makeshift planters. They're buckets. This time last week, these were like sticking out probably this high. And in a week, they've shot up. These two are crazy. This one's kind of weird. I feel like it was supposed to be the same height, but it just is kind of stumpy. And, whoops, over here, we've got one that's got a couple coming up. So these were started from rhizomes. So this is now these were some, I'd ordered like 3 off of eBay and they sent me like 9, and these 2 were kind of in real rough shape, and I honestly had enough, so I didn't really stick them in the ground or in the planter. But this is a rhizome, bamboo rhizome, and this grows. This type is a running type, which is the type that tends to get out of control when people plant them in the ground. I'm going to plant them in planters, so never fear. This rhizome grows horizontally near the surface. It's only a couple inches down usually, and roots go down to get water and food, and those culms or shoots come straight off of here. So I planted these, stuck these down in buckets, and this culm or shoot here is coming right off of one of these little kind of intersections. See this little busted black piece? That would have been one of these. Let's try to uncover this. And there's another one coming up right there, so I want to be very careful. I don't want to disturb this too much, but that goes right down into that rhizome. So the way bamboo works, kind of, from my understanding, and I'm kind of learning as I go here. These are running type. There are clumping types. The clumping type tend to be a little less invasive. The running type tend to spread and take over. That's why I'm going to keep these in planters. But you've got the rhizome, and then if it's the time it's going to send out the shoots or the culms, they grow up super fast. They're going to stop at their height that they're going to be. Then they're going to start branching off. So that's why there's no little branches off of this. And then whatever height this is, once it starts, but you can see here, I think this is where it's going to start leafing. So I think this is going to be the maximum height of this one for this round, and it's going to start growing some branches. So let's flip back over to the other. So these shot up, and just in this last week, these leaves kind of appeared, and these leaves appeared. So now that it's sending out leaves, and it's sending out little, you can see where that's going to be a branch off. And right, this is terrible videography here. And there's going to be a branch off of there. These are going to be kind of the max height of these particular round of shoots. So this isn't going to grow. It's not like a tree where you know, it sends up a shoot or a culm, and it's going to just keep growing bigger and bigger as time goes on. It shoots up and they get to that max height within like a month or so, depending on the species. Then they shoot out their leaves and branches, and then they sit, and you know, the rhizome is growing underneath. And then next year, next season, or next time it's going to send up its shoots, the shoots go up, new ones go bigger, they go taller and wider, they're bigger all around. But these ones don't get any bigger. They're not going to grow more. Now they will grow leaves and branches off. So when I got this rhizome, it kind of had this big leafy chunk on the end. So I planted it. So these are like maxed out. Like they're not going to get bigger. But it shot up this guy here. So that's going to be bigger than these. Here's another one growing. And I thought there was a third one. Yeah, down into there. And this was another little tiny rhizome section I planted. Just stuck in the same pot. So one more, we'll go look at the, all right, so this is actually where we've been filming here. This one I bought kind of as is. It came already, already green. So this this culm here, or this shoot that came up the center, you see how it's got branches coming off of it? So it's got the main little bamboo center there. Branch off, branch off, branch off. So there's other culms over there that are just straight up. They're going to have branches coming off. But this particular one, this thing is not going to grow, even though the max height of this bamboo is bigger at maturity. Well, this rhizome and plant isn't mature. And I could be getting some of my terminology a little butchered there. Again, I am not a bamboo expert guy. I've just been diving into research, and I've gotten a few emails about it. I asked, if you know anything about bamboo, email me. But this particular culm isn't going to get any taller or bigger. It's going to maybe grow some, more leaves and branches and stuff. But as the rhizome in there becomes established and starts growing larger, the next cycle, when it sends up more shoots, they're going to be taller and fatter. They're going to be bigger than this one. So that's how bamboo grows. It's not like your average, it's a grass. It literally is a grass. It's not a tree, or it's not your traditional plant where the actual, like this particular one isn't going to get bigger. But think of the real plant as that rhizome section that's growing underneath and under the soil. It's getting bigger. And then as it matures and gets bigger, the culms it sends up are bigger. And it does that seasonally. It's not just doing that all the time. It may do it a few times a year, depending on the species, of course. But it is usually in spring. And they send up a bunch of them in spring. And they shoot way up as tall as they're going to be. So if this plant, this one, I think the max height is like 30 feet, but not in this pot and not at this age. But as this plant matures, let's say you had it in the ground, it'd do a little bit better. Let's say it's 3, 4, 5 years old. The ones that shoots up are going to shoot straight up to 30 feet within like 2 months. Then it's going to branch off. Back over to this guy here. This is shooting in like 2 weeks. It started out short as a bud. Then like over the course of 2 weeks, it was about here. And in the last week, it just shot straight up to here. And it's starting to look like, you can see the little bamboo segments there, gives it starting to look like bamboo. So this will shoot straight up to the height this particular one's going to be. And once it's as tall as it's going to be, it will then shoot off those branches and start growing thicker. Branches and leaves will come out. And then this particular one is done growing height. It's not going to get taller next year. It's not even going to get taller this year. Once it's to its maximum height, this one's done. The rhizome under there, again, here's this rhizome. And this is just a section cut. So it's going to go, it would have been growing right and left. This thing grows horizontally. It's going to be growing horizontally and shooting up the culms from those sections and shooting roots down for water and nutrients and all that. So yeah, I don't know if anyone finds that interesting. If anyone has experience growing bamboo in containers, specifically running types that get big. I know that growing them in containers stunts them. This bucket's obviously way small for a plant that's supposed to get 30 feet tall. But you know, this is just temporary. We're going into winter here, and I'm just not, you know, I could have probably planted the rhizomes outside when I first got them, but I wanted to see them grow a little bit. I'm kind of very hands-on. And yeah, so hopefully they will plant in the spring. These are cold hardy varieties. I'm going to grow them in big planters. So this right here, I planted the section of rhizome in these. Actually, there's 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Yikes. But, you know, now again, I know I'm repeating myself over and over again, but I'm kind of also just reaffirming it within myself. What my thought process is, and this is documentation for myself more than anyone else. I mean, certainly Kara doesn't care about my bamboo, although she would never say that to my face. Now that these are leafing out, like these are it. These aren't going to get taller. Even though this is like Chinese timber bamboo or something of that sort. I have the scientific names written down somewhere. This is a bamboo where the culms at maturity are going to be 70 feet tall and, you know, 4 inches in diameter. These are probably done growing this cycle because they're leafing out, and this is not going to grow taller anymore. As the rhizome gets bigger, they will shoot up bigger later. And and with our climate and our, you know, being in a pot, it's restricted. That's, you know, this is never going to reach 70 feet, you know. And again, that might be 10, 15 years down the road when the plant's really, really mature. So the idea is to attach some of these barrels together, bolt them together so it's got like a flat spot, cut some holes in them, and we can link, you know, 3, 4, 5 of these little half barrels together, plant some of these real big species in them, and allow the runners to, you know, move from barrel to barrel so it's able to establish a fairly large rhizome. And maybe then it will have enough volume to actually get some size on it. And again, that's a year-long process. Years, I'm saying, you know, 5, 6 years, 7 years to actually get something growing pretty big. Yeah. And again, these running types are the ones that people are so afraid of putting in the ground. And I mean, I understand it. I've seen the videos online of backyards just taking over, you know, get taken over by this running bamboo, and it's going into the neighbor's yard and, you know, ruining foundations and stuff. So before anyone emails me about that, the concern of it, just know I'm going to keep them in planters and we're not going to put them in the ground. So that's the bamboo update. We've got 3 species. We got a lot coming up. I'm curious to see once these, you know, get to their full height and once they're done and they start branching off and then they're leafing out like this. You know, these are going to be kind of cool, but they're so small. You know, I'm curious to see what these guys are looking like once they really leaf out. So this is the beginning stage. It's only my second little update on these. And I'll tell you, I'm super excited about it. I know it's maybe a little goofy, but hey, I'm excited. Bye.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good